Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Bet Right Sports Betting Podcast presented by the Six Pack Coverage Media Network. It's your host, Jeff Rowell, here with my co-host, Andrew Tanzi, coming at you to break down everything you need to know for Week 12 in the NFL. We have finally reached Thanksgiving here in the United States, so exciting week of football with 3 games on Thursday. Then we'll get a pretty full slate on Sunday with no teams on bye. Rue, I'll bring you in here. How was week number 11 for you?
Oh man, it was not the best week. I actually, I ended up Sunday down a little bit. I won most of it back on Monday night. Ended up being a pretty good Monday night. But yeah, I felt like I was just off. I mean, a couple really bad calls, but then like a couple props I missed because of game script or injuries or whatever. But yeah, overall kind of disappointing week.
Yeah, I feel like I had a really good week, but it could have been my best week of the entire season, but really the triple whammy in the late slate on Sunday of Raiders beating
Ugh.
the Broncos in overtime, Steelers losing the cover, and Dalton Schultz not getting his reception total. The three of them happened in succession in like a 15-minute span, and that just like really flipped my whole week from being insanely profitable to a little bit profitable. So that was
Yeah,
disappointing.
yeah.
All right, let's go over our recap here for our bets on the show. Debate of the week. This was a fun one. You had Jets plus 3.5, so you dropped to 2-4 on the year. I got to win with the Patriots. Obviously, the thrilling punt return touchdown to win the game for the Patriots, cover the spread in a game with 0 offensive touchdowns. That was a weird game because the Patriots outgained the Jets 297 to 103. Nick Folk missed 2 chip shot field goals. Like I felt like the Patriots were the right side, but it was obviously a fluky way to win the bet.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say I deserve the cover, but at the same time, like I feel like I
You
deserve
did,
the
but you
cover because that
didn't.
was
It was
just
like,
like, I mean, watching that happen, it was just like someone catch him,
yeah.
someone, and then you just see the punter just like the efforts
I
like
thought
I
the
understand.
punter had him. I thought he was going to get him by the shoelaces or
Like I
something.
understand these guys are the most athletic guys, but he just like swipes at him with his arm. I was like, "What
I
are you
know.
doing here?" And then yeah, Zach Wilson just an absolute train wreck. I mean, look, if you told me the Patriot or the Jets defense was going to hold the Patriots to 3 offensive points and Zach Wilson wasn't
Yeah.
going to turn the ball over, I'd be like, "Oh my god, this is a smash play." Well,
Yeah.
that happened, but it just so happens the Jets gained 2 inches per play in the second half.
Yeah. That was very interesting. A very interesting bet. But yeah, fun debate. Fun for me. Favorite bets of the week. We both took losses here. Tough week for our favorite bets. You go to 6-5 on the year, lost with the Steelers plus 4.5. It was looking good. The offense put up some points, but unfortunately, when the D line couldn't get pressure in like 2 seconds, the secondary just got torched by the Bengals receivers all day.
Yeah, again, if you told me the Steelers were going to score 30
Yeah.
points, I'd be like, "Oh my god, smash spot!" And honestly, like as the week went on, I was leaning the Cowboys on the show. That actually ended up being my biggest bet of the week. I just love that spot for them, but it doesn't help me in my record here. Yeah, Steelers were just. I thought the Bengals did a great job with their game plan, getting
Yeah,
just.
they
It felt
did.
like they were just throwing quick passes, and the Steelers secondary just couldn't hang on. It just felt like as soon as this, in like that fourth quarter, if the Steelers weren't going to score a touchdown, there was no way they were hanging on to this cover. So yeah, that was really disappointing.
Yeah, that was a tough one. I was right there with you. I took a terrible loss in mine. Eagles first
Yeesh.
half team total over 13. Barely made it over 13 points for the full game, let alone the first half. I was really disappointed with this Eagles effort. I figured, off a loss, of a pretty questionable game plan. I thought they were really going to establish the run, come out on fire here against a bad Colts team, and they had to squeak out a win at the end. So a very disappointing result there from the Eagles.
Yeah, seems like the opponents are kind of adjusting to what the Eagles are doing, and the Eagles aren't really
Yeah.
making any adjustments. It seems like kind of the same game plan week in and week out on both sides of the ball. So it'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward.
It's time for a counter punch from Sirianni here. They got to mix
Yes.
something up and change stuff around because they're getting figured out.
Yeah.
Long shots of the week. This was really a tough beat for you. I mean, you nailed this play. Derrick Henry, anytime touchdown. Derrick Henry, 100 rush yards,
Just
and the Titans money line. The guy gets 32 carries and he can't get 100 yards. That was awful.
oh my god, 28 carries. Like how
20.
against
I mean,
against the Packers team that has just been getting absolutely torched, and you're just waiting. Like I think after the first half, he was at like 40s, mid
yeah, he was
40s or
doing
something,
okay. And they're
and you're
even
like,
talking about it on the broadcast, like, oh, he gets better in the second half. Here's his
yeah,
yards per carry from carries 10 to 20 or whatever. It's just,
you're just like waiting for this long Derrick Henry run to
yeah.
come, and kudos to the Packers. They stopped the run. I mean, they didn't win the game, but they shut down Henry.
Yeah, so that was tough. You go to 4-7 on the year in your long shots. I got a big win on Monday Night Football, 3-5 on the year. George Kittle over receiving yards and anytime touchdown. Niners money line. Kittle dominated the game, 4 for 80, 4-2. Niners won in a rout, so that was a big win for me. I think I got a plus 480 on Caesar, so nice price too.
Nice.
Prop sheet. Guys, been rough on the prop sheet here. We went 6-9 on the week. We are down to 87 and 80 overall. It was just bad all around. Stephon Diggs was a no-show. The entire Eagles offense was a no-show. Dalton Schultz, 3 catches in the first half, can't get a single target in the second half. That was just all over the place. It was bad. I don't know what else to say. We have to take a long look in the mirror and figure out what we're doing with these props here.
I will say, like, normally when people are like, let me take a look in the mirror, or we're getting crushed, they're like 10 under 500. We're still, like, I'm not saying we, like, when you're laying juice and stuff, we're probably about even at 87 and 80, but it's not like we're down 20 units or something. So
yes, that's fair. But we expect to win here. We're not trying to put in all this work to break even. We don't do this for
not
fun.
excuses, not excuses. I'm just saying we're not panicking is what I'm saying.
Yeah, we're still in a profitable season. We're still doing great. Sides and totals are on point. We just got to work on the props a little bit.
Yeah,
got to adjust.
We'll be all right.
All right, heroes and zeros of the week from week number 11. Who do you have hero of the week?
Yeah, I'm going to go Tony Pollard. This guy just continues to smash. We were actually on his yards before. We knew Zeke was starting. I think we put those yards on the prop sheet at 43 and a half, and then it came out like an hour later that Zeke was going to take a backseat to Pollard. They both ended up getting 15 carries in the game, but Pollard went well over yards total with 80 yards and obviously contributed to that absolute rout of the Minnesota Vikings. So hero of the week is Tony Pollard, who really just needs to be named the starting running back of the team. I think Zeke is great on short yardage and goal line. Like he's definitely better than Pollard in that, but it's like the perfect combination. I don't know. I don't know what the loyalty to Zeke is just out of control.
Yeah, I think they're holding themselves back with this. So it's frustrating. My hero of the week, I'm going to go with George Kittle from Monday Night Football. Had his longest reception over on the prop sheet. We took his yards. He was my long shot of the week. It was awesome having all that money on him. But even just as a football fan, watching this guy play football, watching him catch passes, he's just an absolute beast, impossible to tackle in the open field. He's a grown man out there, him and Deebo Samuel. The Niners offense is just Jimmy G, get the ball out of his hand within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. Someone catches it and just breaks off an insane run, breaks 3 tackles. And like they had a stat on the broadcast where like 56% of their yards were from running after the catch in the passing game. It was crazy. So George Kittle, my hero of the week.
Nice.
Zero of the week from you.
Where else to go than Zach Wilson? I hate this guy. Not like not even just because he sucks at football, but to have the audacity to come out and say he didn't let down his defense. You just lost the entire locker room. What an outrageous. I need to do better. Look, the offense put up 3 points.
There's like 100 easy answers you can have to that question.
Just straight up no. He played great. 26 plays in the second half, 2 total yards. They did not cross their own 35-yard line in the second half. God. You can't make that up. That's like I want to say like Alabama versus a Division II school, but I'm pretty confident that a Division II school could cross the 35-yard line. Holy crap. Just next level bad. Zach Wilson. I hope this dude gets benched.
Yeah. Might be my Mike White time in New York this week. We'll see. Yeah. Or Joe Flacco. Who knows? I went with Kadarius Toney for my zero of the week. I was really excited about this play. I took some ladders of him up to 100 yards. I had his points bet over. I really thought that this was the Kadarius Toney explosion week. Instead, all he does is go out there for 22 snaps, have absolutely zero impact on the game. Yes, I know he got hurt. Don't let anyone make an excuse for that. The reason that this prop did not hit had nothing to do with the injury. He's just a piece of crap player that was out there running, joined the all cardio team, as you said, absolutely zero performance impact, didn't even show up in the box score. That was very frustrating. We had to watch
your hamstrings, dude. Like, go do some Roman deadlifts.
Oh, it's not even the hamstring. I don't even want to talk about the injury. It's just Jody Fortson is out there mossing people on the field, and Kadarius Toney can't even get a target. Like,
Justin
what are you
Watson
doing? Sky Moore's got like 5. Everyone's getting the ball from them except for this guy. Like, that says something.
Yeah, bad.
Disgusting. Never again. Never again. Thought I was buying in early before the price skyrocketed. Instead, he's just a bust.
I'm just done with Chiefs wide receivers. It's Kelsey or no one. They're
I mean,
rotating.
Juju had a little bit of a run, but obviously with the injuries now, we don't know if he's coming back. But yeah, it's always tough with the Chiefs. I feel like an idiot watching that game when Kelsey's just going off. I'm like, I feel like I made this more complicated than it needed to be. If I wanted to bet a Chiefs wide receiver, I could just bet Kelsey over. Like, one of those you just overthink it.
Yeah.
All right, ready to jump into the Thanksgiving slate here?
Yes, best time of the year.
Yes, best day of the year, arguably.
Best day, yes.
No teams on bye this week, so a full slate of games. We'll kick it off with the 12:30 kickoff in Detroit. Buffalo Bills taking on the Detroit Lions. Lions are 9.5-point underdogs. There is a 10 available on DraftKings if you're interested in the Lions. Over-under is up to 54.5. This has been bet up throughout the week. Bunch of injury notes here, especially for the Bills. Tremaine Edmonds, Kaiir Elam, Gregory Rousseau, and AJ Epinesa all questionable in this Bills defense. Probably not going to see a ton of them back, especially on a short week, but we'll see when the final actives and inactives come out. And then starting cornerback Jeff Okudah out for the Lions, so maybe a little bump to Stephon Diggs there. And then DJ Chark, Josh Reynolds expected to be back this week for the Lions, but we'll see when we get official word. Do you have a play here on this game side or total?
Yeah, I was leaning the Bills, but then with the injuries, and I absolutely hate that they're flying back to Buffalo and then going to Detroit. Just makes
such a dumb decision.
I don't get it. It makes no sense. If they were staying in Detroit, I'd probably like the Bills here. But I was waiting for a team total over 30.5, but it actually went the other way. It's at like 32.5 or 33.5.
That's crazy.
I think from a side total perspective, this is kind of a pass for him. But look, it was the Bills put up 31 points last week, only scoring 2 touchdowns. They were really moving the ball, and they committed to the run for the first time since Josh Allen's been there. I think this is going to be a monster game for this offense going against the Detroit defense, but I don't really trust. We've seen some life from the Detroit offense on the road, and they're averaging 31 points per game at home. I still think even with the injuries now, this Bills defense is probably the best defense this Lions team has seen since the Dallas game where they put up 6 points. And look, it's not like Goff lit it up last week. He threw for under 200 yards. The Lions won the turnover battle. So like last week wasn't a massive offensive outburst like the score may indicate. I could see the Lions hanging around here, but I could also see the Bills running away with it. So it's just kind of a pass for me here. I'm just looking at some props.
I am in on the Detroit Lions here. +10 or better. Sign me up. DraftKings, like I said, still has a +10 right now. Most of the market is at 9.5. I don't hate it at 9.5. I kind of think the Lions are going to be competitive in this game. The Bills have struggled to win by margin this season. That's kind of been their MO for the last few years, is they can go out and dominate teams and beat anyone by 20. Hasn't really been the case this year. We've seen that across the league. 6 of the last 8 games for the Bills have been decided by 1 score or less. We know Dan Campbell and this Lions team really excels in this situation. Keep a game close, be competitive, score some points. Like them at home here on a short week. Like we said, the Bills made a really dumb error, in my opinion, flying back to Buffalo in a snowstorm. Now they have to turn around, fly back to Detroit 2 days later. So just kind of made what should have been an advantage for them into a kind of a tough travel spot on a short week. So I think the Lions are the play here. And I kind of mentioned it last week. I think this team is still a little bit undervalued in the market just based on the stretch of teams that they played, the injuries they had earlier in the year. I think people kind of wrote this team off. And I think that now we're seeing some of the potential that a lot of people believed that this team could have coming into the season. That's why they were one of the most over bet win totals. I have an over ticket on them for the year. Probably not going to hit, but I still think that we're seeing some of that upside here. So I think this game is going to be pretty competitive. I'm actually really excited to watch it. And I'm in on the Lions at 10 or better.
I think if this total hits like 55.5, I'm going to take the under.
I don't think it can ever get to 55.
Well, I feel like it'll be 54.5 right now.
I feel like everyone will immediately bet it down if it touches. I'm surprised it even got this high though. So I guess it's possible.
I'm sitting here preaching about an offensive explosion for the Bills, but 55.5, I feel like there's just not much margin for error. I mean, you're talking about points on every drive for both teams. So just from a number perspective, I think if this hits 55.5, I'll have a small play on the under.
I think that's fair. I'd be surprised if it got that high. But yeah, I think at some point you have to come back and play the under and just think all it takes is one Goff red zone interception or something, and you're looking good on a total.
Yes,
super high. So, all right, this is so we do have props for the Thanksgiving games here. We'll give some notes there, and then maybe touch on some look ahead spots for the other games since it is Tuesday night here, November 22nd. What do you have prop looks for this game, Bills versus Lions?
Yeah, I'm going right back to Steph Diggs at 85.5. Just an absolute smash spot after a down week last week from a yardage perspective. Some top tier receivers that have faced the Lions this year. AJ Brown, 155 yards. DK Metcalf, 149 yards. Tyreek Hill, 188 yards. Justin Jefferson only had 14 yards. I'm not sure what happened there, but we could ignore that. Diggs also cleared this line in 7 out of 10 games. He's averaging 103 yards per game. This line's probably about 10 yards too low.
Yeah, and I mentioned it off the top too. Lions number one cornerback Jeff Okudah out for this game with a concussion, so an already bad Lions secondary trying to cover Stephon Diggs sounds like trouble.
Yeah.
Any interest in Amon-Ra St. Brown? I saw his yards hanging around 73.5.
Yeah, I saw his receptions were at 7.5. I was waiting to see if I could get a 6.5. I typically like playing his receptions because he does get those padded a little bit with some passes closer to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I haven't seen a 6.5 yet. I agree. If we do get a 6.5 reception line, play the over. I didn't mind the yards. He was 7 for 76 last week in a game. They leaned heavily on the run, 10 for 119 the week before. So I think if we get a 6.5 line on the reception total, take that. Otherwise, I think the yards in the low 70s still fine in a game that we expect points.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, ready to move on?
Yep.
All right, let's take it over to the NFC East. The New York Giants taking on the Dallas Cowboys. In Dallas, Cowboys are up to 9.5-point home favorites. The over-under here has been bet up a lot, up to 45.5. This is up 2 to 2.5 points from the opener. This is a rematch of week 3 where Cooper Rush took down the Giants 23-16. Injury notes: Giants had a couple key pieces bow out last week. Wan'Dale Robinson and Adoree Jackson both going to miss this game. Other cornerback Fabian Moreau questionable, and then offensive lineman Evan Neal also on the injury report for the Cowboys. Anthony Barr, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Micah Parsons all listed questionable. Parsons did leave the game last week, but he also returned before the game concluded, so I'm not expecting any impact there. Do you have a play on this one? Is this a wait as long as possible and take the Giants, or did you get in early with Cowboys under 10?
Did you say the total's at 45.5?
Yeah, it's been bet up all week. It opened at 43, 43.5. I was kind of leaning the under now that it's over under, 45, right?
Yeah, I think I like that. I'm looking at the Giants.
I mean, the Giants have had 2 games all year, I think, that have gone over 45 points.
Yeah, 2, including last week. Yeah.
Yeah, last week was the second one against the Lions. And that was really only because of the Lions.
Yeah, and look, the Cowboys put up 40 last week, but they still have a great defense. And you know, I was looking ahead at this line. I think last week it was at 7. And I'm like, oh man, give me the hook for the Giants next week. And now here we are. It's at 9
hook plus some.
And now it's at 9.5. And I'm like, I can't do it. I think this Cowboys team is a bad matchup for the Giants and Daniel Jones. Like, they already lost by 7 to this
bad
team.
matchup for a lot of teams.
Yeah, they lost by 7 to this team, and that was at home versus Cooper Rush.
They put up 16 points.
Yeah, Daniel Jones was sacked 5 times through 37 times for only 196 yards with an interception, and the Cowboys just had their way on the ground. So now you flip home field, you get Dak back, you're possibly missing your starting right tackle. It's just, and like the Giants, similar to the Vikings last week, like they overachieved, and we kind of knew that. And similar, they have 7 wins, but they have 4.5 expected wins, 21st in overall DVOA. And you look at their 3 losses: 13 points last week, arguably could have been worse, 14 points to Seattle, and 7 to Dallas, like I mentioned, which could have been worse. So, you know, when they're losing, they've lost 2 games by double digits here. And like on the flip side, they haven't won by more than 8 points. So it just feels like they're either keeping these games close and finding a way to win, or they're losing by a fair margin here. But at the same time, if this gets to, like, you know, we know people love to back the Cowboys. 10 and a half. Like, as
like
much
we
as
have at 10 and a half, I feel like you have no choice.
That's what I'm saying. Like 10 and a half is a little too much, because then it's like this line was just 7 last week, and we're moving this over a field goal. So like under 10, I'm not touching it. But 10 and a half, I'll be side-eyeing it.
Yeah, I agree. I think at 10 and a half, I'm definitely in. 10's probably a long, hard look.
There's some numbers where you just like can't over analyze the matchup, and it's like a divisional matchup.
Yeah, the number just gets too big.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So pass right now, but 10 and a half, I'll probably be on it.
Yeah, I think the key to this game's if the Giants are going to be competitive, they're going to have to get Saquon going on the ground. I mean,
Yeah, what was that?
they
15
ran him into
carries
a
for
brick
22
wall.
yards
Yeah,
against the Lions?
that was very concerning. I mean, if you did that against the Lions, like the Cowboys don't have an amazing run defense, but it's a heck of a lot better than what you faced last week. So I think that's really the key here. The Giants' offensive line is allowing the second highest adjusted sack rate against the Cowboys' D line, that's top 2 in every pass rush metric. So I also think Daniel Jones, maybe him on the ground as well. Like he was 7 for 79 on the ground in the first matchup against the Cowboys. So maybe if he can get going a little bit, but I think you're still really playing a tough game here, especially without Wan'Dale Robinson. Like they just have no playmakers to throw the ball to. So I think if they can't get a run game going here, they're going to be in for a long day.
Yeah, I agree.
Prop looks for you in this one?
No, nothing right now.
All right, so I had 2 in this one. Well, Daniel Jones is more of a pass. Like I did want to mention, he was 7 for 79 last time. I think he has a good matchup to run here against the Cowboys, but I felt like the line was a little bit high. It was 40.5. So it was a spot that I was kind of looking at, but I feel like it's just a pass at the number. And then Dalton Schultz, going to be looking at a reception total, but 35.5 yards is pretty low for him. He's been over this in 3 of the last 4 games. Last week was the only one he wasn't, and that was because the Cowboys pulled the starters in the second half. So, I mean, when the Cowboys need to throw, which maybe this isn't the game for, but like Dalton Schultz is really one of Dak's favorite targets. So I think that's a pretty low line for him.
Yeah, I would take the 3.5 receptions again. I mean, he had three receptions on 5 targets last week without the offense playing the fourth quarter. So I think it's still a safe bet if he's, granted that he's in all 4 quarters.
I would agree. All right, let's kick it off to the nightcap. Going up to Minnesota, the Vikings will host the New England Patriots. Vikings are down to a 2.5-point home favorite. The over-under is at 42.5. Both teams coming off pretty bad performances. The Patriots scored 3 offensive points and needed a punt return touchdown to win the game. The Vikings lost 40-3 to the Cowboys and allowed 7 sacks. The Vikings are also the first team in NFL history with an 8-2 record and a negative point differential on the season, which is incredible.
Let's relax on the negative point differential. This was the same thing with the Packers last year.
It's just funny to look at. Funny. Like the Jaguars have a better point differential.
When you lose 40-3 in one, like when it's spread out over multiple games, fine. But when it's one game, like this was the case that everyone was making against the Packers last year because they got blown out by who was it? The Saints on
week 1. The Saints.
Yeah, that's and it was like, oh, the Packers are 4-1, but they have a negative. Like, okay, it was one game.
No, definitely don't factor this into your handicap. Yeah. I just think it was funny to mention. But yes, no, you don't want to be like, oh, I'm betting the Patriots here because they have a better point differential. Yeah. Like, who cares about point differential? It's a stupid statistic. Yeah. Injury notes in this game. Couple injuries on the Patriots offensive line. David Andrews and Isaiah Wynn, both questionable. Josh Uche on the defense, and then Devontae Parker. Did he come back last week, or was he still?
He was it. Yeah, he was there.
Okay, so he should be good this week then. And on the Vikings, stud left tackle Christian Darrisaw going to be out for this game. Cornerback Cameron Dantzler also out, and then Zadarius Smith. He played last week, so I'm assuming he'll be good here, but he is questionable in a short week, so we'll see. Kirk Cousins against an elite pass rush in prime time at home. The lights shine bright. What say you, Patriots versus Vikings?
Yeah, this is where sports betting is tough because I had to come on here last week and make a strong case against the Vikings. They lose 40-3. I was dead right. Now I got to come back and make a case for the Vikings because I'm taking the Vikings here. I think we're getting value on this number. Vikings -3 at home. This is implying what, like -1 on a neutral field. There's just no chance. Like, I understand the Vikings aren't that good, but this Patriots team, I'm so tired. I'm tired. I'm physically tired of hearing how good this defense is.
Maybe someone should beat them. Maybe they should stop winning every week.
They're yet to beat. The best offense they've beaten is Jared Goff in New England with Swift out, Amon-Ra St. Brown out, DJ Chark out. I mean, they're on a 3-game winning streak, beating Zach Wilson twice and Sam Ellinger.
You can only play the teams on your schedule.
I get it. I get it. But the numbers are just so misleading, and I'm so tired of hearing it. Do I think they have a bad defense? No. But like, this isn't like a top 3 overall defense like they probably grade out. And then offensively, I mean, my God, they just have the most conservative offense I've ever seen. They clearly don't trust Mac Jones, rightfully so from what we've seen this season. Yeah. And what happened in all their losses this season? They fell behind by a couple scores at some point, and they had to start passing, and it just disrupts their whole offense because they're like, holy crap, we can't run for 2 yards on 1st and 2nd down. We actually have to try and pass the ball. So this is a spot like, backing the Vikings coming off this embarrassing loss. And look, I know Darisaul's out, obviously a big loss. Patriots are also have injuries on the offensive line, which is huge for their running game. Mm-hmm. And say what you want about Kirk Cousins and prime time, whatever. He's not Zach Wilson. He's not Sam Ehlinger. He's not Mitch Trubisky or any of these other bottom of the barrel quarterbacks that they've played. So I'm taking the Vikings here. This Patriots offense is just absolutely anemic. And when you play a competent offense on the other side, you're going to have to put up some points.
I think I agree with you from a spread perspective. I feel like the number's a little bit short. I can't pull the trigger, though, just because I really think that this Vikings offense is going to struggle to put up points here. I just really don't like the matchup, but it's hard to make a case that the Patriots are going to score on the other side, which leads me to my favorite play in the game. I'm taking the under 42.5. This is my best bet on the Thanksgiving slate. This Patriots defense, kind of similar to the Dallas Cowboys. They actually rank number 1 in pressure rate in the entire league, the only team with a better pass rush than the Cowboys right now. I know you said some of these metrics may be a little bit skewed. The Patriots are up to number 1 overall in defensive DVOA. Okay, maybe it's a little bit skewed, but I still think they're a top 5, top 10 defense. Calm down. I think that they give Kirk Cousins a lot of the same problems that the Cowboys did. Matthew Judon leads the entire NFL in sacks, and now Christian Darisaul is going to be out. I think that's a big loss. And if there's one thing that we know about a Bill Belichick Patriots defense over the years, he's really good at trying to scheme your best weapon out of the offense. And I think in an offense that's so focused around Justin Jefferson, I think that could play really, really well into the Patriots' favor here. Maybe they get Dalvin going on the ground, but you just look back at some of the games the Patriots have played this year against offenses that kind of focus around one guy. Nick Chubb had his worst game of the season, 12 for 56 versus the Patriots. Amon-Ra St. Brown was completely taken out of the game, 4 for 18. Tyreek Hill, week 1, he still put up 8 for 94, so a pretty good week.
Well, St. Brown got hurt in that game, but
did he leave early in that game?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right, so maybe that's why, but he wasn't good while he was in there. But either way, I still think it's a good matchup for this Patriots defense. And then on the Patriots offensive side, I mean, it just feels almost impossible to envision them scoring like 17 points. Feels like their ceiling right now.
7 points.
Okay, 7.
Drop the one.
They dropped the one. Their offense is incredibly slow. They're running plays at one of the slowest paces in the league. They run the ball, so the clock's always moving. So I mean, I just think that this total has to be in the 30s. I know it's in a dome. I know the Vikings have a good offense, but I think this is a really tough matchup for both offenses. So give me the under 42.5.
All right, I don't hate it.
Okay, Vikings win a low-scoring game.
Sure.
By 10 points,
by 4
points, something like that.
Yeah.
All right. Both happy. Prop looks for you in this one?
Yeah, I am going back to TJ Hawkinson over 4.5 receptions. It's really just great odds. I got it at plus 120. I think there's still plus money out there.
Yeah.
In 3 games with the Vikings, he's had 9, 10, and 9 targets, 5, 7, and 9 receptions. And last week he hit the over. And again, he didn't play the fourth quarter either. So, it's pretty hard to evaluate the Patriots defense, like I said, with the quarterbacks they've played. But, you kind of touched on it. The one thing they're going to do is take away the number 1 weapon, which is Justin Jefferson. So I think most of the attention will be paid to him, and Hawkinson can be freed up.
Yeah, I like that as well. I kind of like Jacoby Myers, kind of in the same range. We played him last week, over 4.5 receptions. I think he was around the same price, plus 120 for the over. It's a little bit tougher on this Patriots offense, but he still is Mac Jones' guy. Finished with 4 catches on 6 targets last week. They didn't really throw the ball much, so maybe if the Vikings go up, maybe that puts a little bit more pressure on this Patriots offense to need to throw it. Not my favorite play, but I think at plus 120, there's a little bit of value there on Myers over catches too.
Yeah, I like it, especially that I'm operating on the fact that the Vikings are going to be winning. So
yes, if we're going by your game flow expected here, the Vikings will have at least a little bit of a lead. Yeah. We'll see. You're Vikings. You have your finger on the pulse of this team. So you knew when to fade them last week. You were on them in the preseason. We'll give you that.
Yeah, I gotta look up my record in Vikings bets because I bet the Commanders against them, they covered. I bet them week 1 against the Packers. The Vikings won.
Excited! I feel you have your finger on the pulse of this team.
All right. I'm gonna bring my updated spread record on the Vikings next week to the podcast.
Yeah, we'll just forget about your favorite bets of the week. We'll just keep track of your Vikings record from week to week, and be like 8-0. All right. Ready to head on over to the Sunday slate here. First game on the docket is the Baltimore Ravens against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars are 4-point home underdogs coming off the bye. Ravens obviously coming off an ugly win over Baker Mayfield and the Carolina Panthers. The total of this game is been bet down quite a bit, down to 43.5 here. Couple injury notes for the Ravens. Gus Bus, Ronnie Stanley, and rookie safety Kyle Hamilton all on the injury report. Mark Andrews did return last week. Do you have a play here on the Cider total?
Yeah, I like the Ravens. I actually, I think I mentioned the line on the podcast last week as a look ahead. I didn't take it on the
What was
podcast,
it?
but it was -3.5 last week, so it didn't really move. But I took a money line at -180, which I think I saved like 10 cents on what it is now. But
Yeah.
look, you got what was that, Thursday or Friday? You get the notification come through that Lamar Jackson is yet again sick.
Yeah, that
I
was
mean,
fun.
holy crap, dude! What is? I don't know what this guy does in his free time,
Surprised it
but
took this long.
yeah, I know he made it to what, week 12 or week 11 without getting
The
sick.
new record.
Yeah, but I know that the win over the Panthers didn't instill much confidence, but this Jags team, outside of a huge comeback against the Raiders, who have just been awful, they're 31st ranked defense since week 3. They're one of 2 teams to allow the Broncos to score over 16 points, which at this point just seems like an impossible task. They only scored 6 points against the Texans defense, which also seems impossible. And I also
Yeah.
I think this Baltimore defense has somewhat turned a corner. Like, I know they're not locking all these teams down, but I don't really worry about the blow up performances like we saw earlier in the season. Like they've kind of stabilized since earlier in the
Yeah,
year.
you bring in
And
Roquan Smith, get some guys off the injury
yeah,
report.
exactly. And like I said, I know it wasn't a great offensive performance last week, and the lack of a threat on the outside for the Ravens is an issue. But it's still a top 10 offense or top 10 in points per game. Mark Andrews is going to be a week healthier against the Jaguars defense that actually ranks 32nd in the league against tight
Oh,
ends,
Mark
which,
Andrews is
yeah,
going off this week.
yeah, so that's just a huge key for this Ravens offense, and if they can get Mark Andrews going. So one of the big reasons I like them. And I just think this Jags team, it's just they started off the year, we were all getting hyped up for our Jags future tickets,
That
but
was
this
so
is
fun. Remember, we
it's
were
pretty
so excited for
yeah.
this team. That was a good time.
But like, you just got to flip your mind back. This is they're not there yet. This is the same Jags team as last year.
I
Trevor
don't know if
Lawrence
they're
isn't
ever
there
going
yet.
to be
I think
there.
Trevor Lawrence is going to struggle big time against this defense. So I'm taking the
Yeah.
Ravens. I think their offense can have a bounce back. I took the money line last week, like I said, but I'm fine laying the 4.
Okay, so right now there was a 3.5 on points bet earlier today. Let's say 3.5 or 4 or like a -190 money line. What would you recommend playing right now?
I honestly, it kind of depends on how you bet. Like, if you're not betting large sums of money to get a decent return, I feel like you just lay the points.
Take
but
the spread.
you take the spread. But if you're okay, like ponying up a few extra units to play the money line, go for it.
Okay,
So
that's fair.
yeah,
I think I'm in the same boat as you. I'm definitely leaning Ravens. I made this game Ravens -5, 5.5 when I was making my number. So I think the number seems a little bit short. It's just tough to lay points with this Ravens team right now. Last week didn't inspire a ton of confidence from that perspective. You feel like they could have beat the Panthers by a little bit more than that, and they couldn't. So I'll probably end up with a Ravens ticket here. I think at 3.5, it's probably I don't think it would ever get to 3. So yeah, I think I'm with you here. I will likely end up the Ravens ticket as well. No interest in the Jags at these numbers.
yeah.
Prop looks for you in this one. You already touched on my favorite one, possibly
Yeah.
on the whole week.
Yeah, I completely agree. He was at 49.5 yards last week. That's who he was lined at
Mark
his
Andrews,
first game.
that is.
Yeah, sorry, Mark Andrews. That's what he was lined at. First game back, I think he ended with 60 something yards.
6 for 63, 93% of the snaps.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. This is probably my favorite prop look at the week. I'm curious to see where the market goes. Like, if this is in the 60s, I love it. 5.5.
It can't be above the 60s. There's no way.
You don't think it's going to be above 60?
No, I think in the 60s. Like, I don't think it could ever be in the 70s.
Oh, like 70s. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, in my mind, I had like 65.5.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I love it.
Yeah, Jags allowed 81 yards to Kelsey, 42 to Foster Moreau, a career high 87 to Greg Dulcich the last 3 weeks. They actually passed the Arizona Cardinals as the worst defense in the league against tight ends, which is pretty hard to do if you've been paying attention to this podcast.
Yeah.
Only prop in the game for me.
Yep, me too.
All right, let's move on to our next game here. Denver Broncos against the Carolina Panthers. This one should be something. Panthers are 2.5-point home underdogs. The over-under is, I believe, the lowest of the entire season at 36 right now.
That's got to be like a record. We got to go back and find like a total.
We're almost entering Iowa Hawkeyes football
Yes.
territory here. I mean, this is something special here. Sam Darnold was announced as the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers today, so he will make his season debut for the Panthers. And then on the Broncos side, a whole lot of stuff going on this offense. Jerry Jeudy likely still out. KJ Hamler out. Chase Edmonds sprains his ankle. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. They cut Melvin Gordon from the teams. He can't stop fumbling. I guess Latavius Murray's handling all the carries now. Apparently Marlon Mack's still on this roster, according to you. I don't know what they're doing. they just lost the game to the Raiders in overtime. Their season's pretty much over. Coach Hack is calling timeouts to give the Raiders
Oh
extra
my
plays. I
God.
mean, it's just
I was praying for anyone who didn't see the game here. The Raiders are down, what, 3 points?
Josh Jacobs
driving down
to
the field.
5-yard line.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs gets down to the 5-yard line. The Raiders are out of timeouts.
The clock is running.
The clock is running. There's like 40 seconds left in the game. They're rushing to spike the ball, which for starters, they shouldn't do. You shouldn't waste a down spiking the ball. You should just lob it up to Devontae Adams or something.
Yes.
Anyway, they're lining up to spike
but
it.
everyone on the field knows they're spiking it. It's
Nathaniel Hackett then calls a timeout. So the Raiders get first down back. They were going to spike it. So we just gave the Raiders an extra down.
And he saved some time on the clock for them too. I mean, it was just like
unbelievable. Now, it didn't cost them in regulation. They ended up the defense because they ended up stopping them. But my God, just brutal. That was just you and I, we just can't get Raiders right. Like Raiders and Broncos, we just need to stay away from.
Yeah, honestly.
So
you bet this game?
Yeah, this game, it's just an easy play. I know Sam Darnold's at quarterback. It's easy to say, but he can't be any worse than the quarterback play we've seen from the Panthers. I think, any defense, but the Panthers have shown me enough to where I think they can keep this Broncos offense in check, whatever that means. Like,
won't take much.
The Broncos will keep themselves in check. So I'm just teasing the Panthers up to 8.5 right now for a team that physically cannot, I think it's in the NFL rulebook that the Broncos aren't allowed to score 20 points. So if that's the case, we're getting this 36 or 35.5 point over under. We can tease up to 8.5 points. Just great value there. So give me that.
Yeah, totally with you. Panthers and teasers, obvious play.
Do you think if you asked Russell Wilson if he let his defense down this season, he would say yes or no?
I can't even imagine. Like, he would come up with some response that was like so out of left field. Like, you couldn't even come up with an answer that Russell Wilson would say to that question. I don't even know. Would you ever touch the spread here? Because this did hit 3 for about an hour or two. It did. I took it. It was on. I think it was only on PointsBet, so I didn't get much on it. But it did touch 3.
I must have missed that
came
text.
right back down. Yeah, you should probably go back and check because I definitely texted you. I didn't text you. Would you take a 3 if it popped up again?
Yeah, I would take the field goal. I'd probably get greedy and wait for a 3.5. I doubt we'll get
never getting
3.5.
But wait for 3.5. Get out of here.
Yeah. I would take it. I think you just take points against this Broncos team with anyone but the Texans at this point.
I might even take points with the Texans. The Broncos can't score. How are they covering points?
Latavius Murray would run for 120 yards or something.
Maybe. I don't even want to ask, but do you have props in this one?
No, okay. No.
You can't. Moving on. Atlanta Falcons against the Washington Footballs. The Footballs are up to 4 to 4.5 point favorites, depending on where you're looking. The over-under is 41.5. Football is pretty healthy here. Should, for the 3rd week in a row, get Chase Young back. Who the heck knows if that's actually happening? We'll find out. The Falcons lost blocking tight end Kyle Pitts, going to be a big loss in their run game, not having him there. What do you have on this one? Are you continuing to ride the Taylor Heineke train until it falls off the tracks, or is this time to hop off that train?
Yeah, we talked about earlier, just kind of sometimes you just got to forget the actual matchup and play a number. This is one of those plays. Yeah, 4.5 points here is just crazy, and everyone wants to bet on this Washington team now. Heineke's come in and turned the season around, and the market's really telling you that. I think we're getting 2 points of value on this line. We all love Heineke, but you look at the last few games, he's not doing a whole lot.
And do anything last week.
And you look at the offense, with Wentz offensively, they were 27th in DVOA. With Heineke, they're 21st. So is it an improvement? Yeah, but we're not talking about this massive uptick where it put them in the top half of the league in terms of offense. And look, Atlanta's proven that they're going to keep battling. I think they've shown us throughout the course of the season that they're at least an average team, which is exactly what I think the Commanders are here. So to me, I'm just looking at it as you're getting 2 average teams here. They're right in the same weight class, and I'm catching 4.5 points here. I got to take the Falcons.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you said from a numbers perspective. I thought the opener of football's -3, maybe 3.5 was pretty fair, but I've been shocked that they've been taking money even at those numbers. I mean, you just think about the spread last week. They closed -3 at the Texans. I know we're moving this game to the football's home field, but like they don't have a great home field advantage. Like that organization's a disaster, and it's going to go from 3 to 4.5 when it's the Falcons, who are a competent franchise, instead of the Houston Texans. So I think this one just has to be a numbers play. From a matchup perspective, like it doesn't look great. The footballs are
No.
really good against the run. They're number 2 in DVOA. We know the Falcons love to run the ball. They're anemic to the pass. So it's tough to make an on-field case, but from a numbers perspective, I just think the number's wrong and we just have to play it.
Yeah, and they lost Kyle Pitts, which might be an upgrade because, like you said,
Yeah.
they probably have a better blocking tight end behind them.
Michael
So
Pruitt, better blocker
yes,
than
yeah, there
Kyle
you go.
Pitts. So
Yeah,
maybe that run game gets going now with Cordero. Maybe Cordero will just return another kick and then we'll be okay.
yeah, there you go.
I mean, really, like the start of that football's game last week, like Heineke should have thrown an interception. The guy drops it.
Yeah, right.
And
in
then
his
Davis
hands.
Mills drops back like 3 plays later and throws a pick six, and the game's just over. Like Heineke didn't even have to do anything.
Yeah, Heineke's thrown an interception in every game, minus last week, like where, like you said, a guy dropped it right in his hand. So if the Falcons can just firm
Catch
up against the
balls that are
run,
thrown at them.
yeah, catch the ball and firm up against the run a little bit. I know they're not a great run defense. Commanders really, they're not a great run offense. They've had a couple
They
favorable
could barely
matchups.
run on the Texans.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So yeah, so if the Falcons can force Heineke to throw, maybe force him into a couple turnovers. Now the Falcons don't get pressure either. So if you know, I know we're making a great case for the Falcons here, but
it's
so,
hard. It's hard to make.
Yeah. So
yeah. Yeah, I don't have any props in this one either. I don't really have any spots that I'm looking at. Do you?
No, not right now. I mean, look, it's only Tuesday, so we'll probably end up with 15 plays still on the prop sheet, but
yes,
of
course. All right, moving along here, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Cleveland Browns. The Browns are 3 to 3.5 point home underdogs. The over/under is down to 42.5. Bucks coming off the bye. The Browns have now lost 6 of their last 7 games after starting the year 2-1. Leonard Fournette questionable for the Bucks. Sounds like he should be good to go, but either way, Rachaad White proved that he's a pretty capable running back last week against Seattle, or 2 weeks ago. So no real concern there. And the Browns are fairly healthy. Any play for you on the side or total of this one?
Yeah, so I touched on this one as my look ahead line last week. The -3 for the Bucks held up. I just love the spot for the Bucks. It feels like everything at least started to click into place for them the last 2 games before the bye week. They got the 2 big wins. I think you're starting to see the chemistry come back with Brady a little bit in his receivers. And I think the defenses look great, which watching that game against Seattle in Germany, I think, I was on Seattle in the game and I kind of came out saying I really underrated. I was so focused on the Bucs offense that I really underrated how great this defense can be. So, and most importantly to me, they got the run game going against Seattle. And you can say it was just one game, but here we go against Cleveland, who ranks dead last against the run. So
isn't that amazing? They're worse than the Texans. Yeah, like, that blew my mind when I saw that today.
Yeah, so it's just a great game to kind of build on what they established. We saw, I know they only put up 21 points, but the offense just looked a lot more crisp with this running game. And Cleveland just can't put it together. I mean, maybe you get a last ditch effort here to get a win before Deshaun Watson comes back. But I've been getting sucked into these lines with the Browns all year, so I'm going the other way here. I'm taking the Bucs.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I'm shocked this one hasn't moved more. I mean, I know we finally get some 3.5s on the board today, but I really thought that when this one reopened on Sunday night at 3, it was going to get hammered immediately. And yeah, I guess there's some interest in the Browns out there, but I don't see it. I totally echo a lot of the points that you just made. And I think from a matchup perspective, it just sets up really well. Like you said, this Bucs defense, I still think is a little bit underrated. We know they can stop the run. And the Browns defense has just been an absolute nightmare. The only thing they really do well is rush the passer with Myles Garrett. Tom Brady's actually, I believe he's number 1 in the league in time to throw in terms of like the least amount of time he's holding onto the ball before he releases it. So that should really neutralize Myles Garrett in this pass rush, that they're going to be able to run the ball with Fournette or Rachaad White. So I just think this is Bucs prime for takeoff in the second half of the season, and they get started with a big win over Cleveland here.
Love it.
No prop looks for me in this one. You got anything?
Nope.
All right, let's go to a game that is no longer our debate of the week, but a game that we are on opposite sides of. The Cincinnati Bengals against the Tennessee Titans. We return to the scene of the crime the scene of us losing boatloads of money
Oh
when
my
we bet
God.
Titans -2.5 in a playoff game that closed -4 at home last year when Joe Burrow took 9 sacks and still won the game outright. I am having
Yeah,
reminiscent.
Tannehill through that back-breaking interception, just brutal.
Good time. In this current market, the Titans are 2.5 point home underdogs. The over/under is 42.5. Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon, both big injury question marks for the Bengals side, and then the Titans, bunch of guys banged up on this defense. They are coming off the Thursday night football game, so 10 days to heal up for Bud Dupree, Amani Hooker, and Christian Fulton. So we'll see if they get some guys back. And Joe Burrow, like we mentioned, carved up the Steelers defense last week, only sacked twice. They had a really good game plan to neutralize that pass rush. Tell us why you're on the Cincinnati Bengals here.
Yeah, I bet this at a -1, basically a pick 'em. I think, the 2.5, yeah, like probably a pass for me. I didn't really want to lay any points here. I just kind of liked it at a pick 'em. Bengals to sneak out a
You
win
can
here.
still get a -1.5 on some places.
Okay, yeah. So this is just kind of like battle of the frauds here for me. I've already kind of made my case in the past, like last week against the Bengals, and I've been waiting for the right spot to fade the Titans. So here I am, and seeing the Bengals game plan.
Wait till they're not playing a team that's also a fraud. This isn't the time to fade the
Yeah.
Titans.
Yeah, honestly, like overall, like high arching opinion here, there's not many teams in the NFL that aren't frauds right now. Like honestly, like I feel like it's just so
no one's good.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, seeing the Bengals game plan and success last week against Pittsburgh just kind of gave me some confidence heading into this matchup. Now, like the strength of the Titans defense is the defensive line. They're great at getting pressure. They're great at stopping the run. Well, last week the Bengals, like we kind of touched on, they made great adjustments. They took advantage of a weaker secondary in Pittsburgh, which Tennessee also not the best secondary, and they made quick throws with Burrow. And I think you could see a similar game plan here, and 37 points against the Steelers defense, nothing to scoff at. And I know, like the Bengals, like last week I said, who have they played? Well, we can kind of turn around and say Tennessee, or who have they beat at least, and we can turn around and say the same thing about Tennessee. Not many good wins on the schedule, and like you might
Not
get
that many good teams in the league.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You look through all these schedules and there's like maybe one good team they play, but and then like Jamar Chase, if he comes back who has an outside shot to play, massive bump to this offense. And I think you've kind of seen, there was the dud against the Browns that the Bengals put up, but that was the first game without Jamar Chase, right? Second game.
Yeah, I think that was the first game.
Yeah. So, he's had a couple games to adjust here, but if Chase comes back, awesome. But I've really liked outside of that game the way Burrow and this offense has looked. So I'm going to take the Bengals here. If you can get like the 1.5, or maybe like a -125 money line, I'm fine with it. But just from a value perspective, I don't really love laying like 2.5 or more points here.
Yeah. I'm going the other way. I like the Titans here. So I think in this current range, like I have them in a teaser at 2.5. I think we wait for Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon news at this point, because I think if they're both playing, a 3 should pop up here, and that's just an automatic bet on the Titans here if we can get a 3. If they're not playing, then try and grab the 2.5 while you can, because it might go down. But I just think this is a good spot. Mike Vrabel, we know his success on the bye and on the mini bye so far in his career, 9-0. Obviously coming off that Thursday night football game, so extra 4 days to prepare against Joe Burrow in this offense. I think he can really make Burrow's life miserable. I know you said that the Bengals game plan last week was really successful. I think the Titans have a little bit better of a secondary to hold up. I think the problem with the Steelers was they were just guys open in a second, 2 seconds, and Burrow was able to get rid of the ball so quickly. I think the Titans cornerbacks have shown that they're pretty good. I think they're 13th against the pass this year. So if they can just hold up for a little bit longer and give this Titans pass rush time to get home, I think they can really make Burrow's life miserable, kind of replicate, maybe not a 9-sack performance from last year, but at least get in the backfield quite a bit. And either if Mixon plays or not, I think this Bengals offense is going to be pretty one-dimensional. The Titans are the number 1 defense in the league against the run, so maybe that's not the worst thing in the world if you have
They were last week too. They didn't run the ball at all last week.
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm saying I think the Steelers secondary just really let them down, and there was just guys running wide open. If you're actually covering your players and you're having trouble throwing the ball, then that becomes more problematic, which I think happens here.
Yeah, like you look at the other 2 one-dimensional offenses they've played this year, and good passing offenses. The Bills in what was that, week 2 put
Oh
up
yeah, they got destroyed.
41 points. They got massacred. And Mahomes, I know the game was close, but threw for 450 yards against them. So
Yeah, but that's
those are really
totally skewed. Mahomes threw the ball for 68 times in a game that went to overtime. If you
yeah.
actually break that down on like a per pass basis and factor in that it's Patrick Mahomes, like that really wasn't that bad of a performance.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But those are really the only other two passing offenses that are somewhat, on the same level of the Bengals. Obviously, those are better, but other than that, it's been not the best schedule in terms
Yeah.
of passing offenses they faced.
Yeah, and then for the Titans offense, like I think they can have some success here too. The Bengals defense can be run on. They're not terrible against the run. They're probably league average, but Nick Chubb went for 101. Najee Harris actually had a really nice game last week, 20 carries for 90 yards. So I think, similar game plan to what they had against the Packers. A heavy dose of King Henry, just kind of grind it down, wear the defense down. Then Ryan Tannehill comes in on those third and medium, third and shorts, makes the throws that he has to, and just kind of keeps the chain moving. I just think the Titans are an incredibly well-coached team here that's not really being factored in the market, and I'm going to keep taking them.
All right.
Any prop thoughts for you in this one? I do not have anything on this game.
No, nothing right now.
All right. Let's go to one of the biggest spreads of the week here. The Houston Texans against the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins are 12.5 to 13-point favorites. The over-under is up to 46.5. Not sure who's going to be quarterbacking the Houston Texans. Lovie Smith came out and said it was kind of up in the air, so we'll see if it's either Davis Mills or Kyle Allen replacing him at quarterback. I have to imagine it's probably leaning towards Kyle Allen. Otherwise, why is Lovie Smith even saying that? But
yeah.
No official word. And then number one cornerback Derek Stingley, questionable for this game. Obviously problematic going up against Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I'm assuming you're not going to be taking points with the Houston Texans here. So I guess the question is likely going to be, did you lay it with the Dolphins or pass this game?
No, I think I haven't made it yet, but the Dolphins team total last I saw was at 29.5. They've scored 30 plus in 3 straight games, and they should be able to have their way with this Texans defense. So, not really much to go into from a handicap perspective here. Like you said, I won't place a wager on this Texans team for the rest of the season. But I don't really want to lay 13 points here.
Yeah, I did lay it with the Dolphins here. I think if you can find it under 13, I think it's a fair play. I think I grabbed 11.5, but 12 is kind of a dead number. So if you can grab 12.5, I'm fine with that. I know I came on this podcast last week and advocated for Texans plus 3.5. I put my actual hard-earned money on this team, and it didn't go well.
I tried to tell you.
Yeah, you tried to tell me. I had fair warning on this one from multiple people telling me I was an idiot, and I paid the price. So, I just think this Texans team is in real trouble here. Any positive signs that I was looking for last week did not come to fruition. Now Lovie Smith is talking about a quarterback change. Davis Mills hasn't been good, but Kyle Allen's not good either. So I think that's probably a slight downgrade. And then, this Dolphins team coming off the bye, like I feel like this is a game where they can just kind of name their score. If they want to run it down their throat all game with Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert, they can do that. If they want to throw it to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, they can do that. So I think this is a game where, like you said, the Dolphins get to 30 plus, and it's pretty hard to imagine the Texans offense putting up what they need to cover the spread. 20 points probably. Like that just feels impossible, even against a Dolphins defense that has been underperforming all season. That just feels like a really tall task.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know that this is a game that we can auto fire up Tyreek Hill and Waddle, just because we kind of saw against.
I don't think we can.
We kind of saw against the Browns before the bye week that when the Dolphins can run the ball, which they really weren't.
Yeah, they haven't been able to do it all year.
Most of the season, but they were able to establish it against the Browns, and they just kind of stuck with it with the two-headed backfield there. So obviously a matchup they'll be able to do that. So I don't know if this is the auto play on Tyreek and Waddle like we've been doing most of the season.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think you kind of look at the matchup on paper, just you want to play all overs, but I think this is one where you really have to be careful and just kind of think about how the Dolphins can really spread out this offense now that they have a running game, and the lines are going to be high based on the Texans' defensive metrics. So this is probably a game where I'm just passing on all the props altogether, as sad as that is to say.
Yeah, and if Davis Mills starts, maybe you look at an under, because if he's not getting benched before the game, there's obviously
Davis Mills under.
Yeah, he's on a short leash, obviously. So I think if Mills does start, I'll be looking at yards under for him.
That's a really good call. Points bet his yards under. That's the way to go. I like that a lot. Yeah, good call. All right, Let's move on to our next game here. A very interesting game in New York where the Jets are 4.5-point home favorites over the Chicago Bears. The over under, wow, it's dropped under 40. We are at 39.5 here on the total. Big news in this one. Justin Fields questionable with I don't know if it was dislocated or separated shoulder. He's got a bad shoulder injury. Doesn't sound like he's going to play. I'd be shocked, but unfortunately, or for whatever reason, the team hasn't officially ruled him out. So it's either going to be Justin Fields or Trevor Siemian in his backup. And then N'Keal Harry questionable and Khalil Herbert out for the Bears. And then on the Jets, similar interesting questions at quarterback. Robert Saleh said it could be Zach Wilson, could be Mike White, could be Joe Flacco. We don't really know. Yeah. Corey Davis likely to be back here for the Jets. What do you have in this debacle mess of a situation here in the Bears and Jets game?
Yeah, you can't really place a bet on this game right now. If Justin Fields is
I placed many bets on this game.
Well, before, okay, I bet the under.
I still have one that's in range.
Okay, I bet under 45.5 Bears team total, under 18.5. Obviously, neither of those is available.
I think you can get Bears team total at 7. Maybe it changed now. I don't know.
All right, well, if you can get Bears team total over 17.5, or under 17.5, I like that. If Fields gets rolled in, I'll go bet the Bears, but there's a better chance of me attending a vegan Thanksgiving on Thursday than laying this many points with the Jets. So that's you can't make me do that.
That's the best line you've had all podcast.
Oh wow, I appreciate that.
Vegan Thanksgiving. Oh man. Okay. I bet the Jets here. I bet them at -4.5. I bet the game total under. Bet the Bears team total under.
You laid 4.5 points.
I laid 3.5, and
for God's sake,
and I would still lay 4.5. I had the Jets and the under are my biggest bets of the entire week.
Okay, the under fine, but the Jets laying 4.5. There's just no freaking way you can make.
And the money line, the money line too.
You heard the stats I said at the top that they ran 26 plays and had 2 points.
Okay, here's what I'm going to tell you. You're not going to like to hear it. Your ears may start bleeding, but I think this Jets offense is actually undervalued right now.
Just stop.
I think they have potential to be better than we currently perceive.
What, better than last week? What, 100 total yards? Yeah, I would hope so.
I think they can be a semi-competent offense. We are coming off of games where the Jets have just played the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick twice. They played the Buffalo Bills, where Zach Wilson actually played pretty well, put up 20 points and won the game. And they also played the Denver Broncos, so they basically played 3 of the top 5 defenses in the NFL in the last 4 weeks. So of course their offense is a little bit skewed downward right now. Yes, we would like to see more life than we have, but Corey Davis coming back into the lineup, I think that's a big boost. I think it's probably going to be Mike White at quarterback. I don't know if there's a big difference between him and Zach Wilson on the field. I think in the locker room morale type, I think these guys would rally around Mike White a little bit more. But I really think that this Jets offense is not as bad as we've seen. I think they can get the run game going here with Michael Carter and James Robinson. I'm not telling you they're going to come out and put up 48 points, but against a Bears defense that they can't stop the run. They're bleeding points to everybody. The Falcons are going up and down the field on this team. I think this is a spot for the Jets offense to get 20 points, 21 points, 23 points, build some momentum and show people that they're not a complete laughingstock.
I thought the defense held up okay against the Falcons. I mean, they held up okay. Listen to what you're saying. It was a kick return that was 7 points. Other than that, they allowed 20 points. So a Falcons offense that's better than the Jets.
Okay, they held up okay to the Falcons. Like, that doesn't say a lot. The Falcons are not a good offense.
Is better than the Jets.
By a little bit.
No,
they're not that much better than the Jets.
There's just no freaking way you could make me like 4.5 points.
Okay, and on the other side of the ball, this Jets defense is absolutely elite. If Trevor Siemian starts this game, I struggle to see how they score an offensive touchdown. Justin Fields and his legs was the entire Bears offense. The only reason David Montgomery
Can I just cut you off real quick? Like, listen to what you're saying.
Yes.
Listen to what you're saying, because this is the case we've been making every week. We've bet the Broncos about how great their defense is, and we always say, "Oh, we're getting
defense is better than the Broncos."
Let me just say, we're getting the best unit on the field. Okay, we're getting the best unit on the field with the Broncos all season. How the heck is that worked out in covering spreads?
Teams. The Jets are good. The Jets are winning. They're in playoff position.
God,
the Broncos
the Jets'
suck.
offense is just as bad, if not worse, than the Broncos.
No, it's not. It's better than the Broncos.
I mean, holy crap! This is just uncharted waters, laying 4.5 points here with the Jets.
The Jets have been good to us.
If you like their defense, you bet on the defense. You should have taken the team total. I know you did.
I bet the team total under.
That's the
recommendation.
You like the Jets. You're betting on the Jets because of their defense. You bet on their defense. You don't bet on the offense.
I think their offense is undervalued in the market. I want to capture some of that upside as well. I think their offense is going to score.
Then bet the over. Then bet the team total over or something.
I bet the spread. That's if I think the Bears are going under and I think the Jets can score points. I lay 4.5. That's what I did.
God,
I'm telling you, the Jets are scoring points this week against this is the matchup the Jets are scoring. What do you expect us?
All their good offensive performances were with Breece Hall because Breece Hall was amazing.
Because every team they played since he went down is a top 5 defense. And
I would argue the Patriots are a top 5 defense because they played the Jets twice. That's my argument to you.
Yeah, because it's Bill Belichick against a terrible quarterback. Of course, the defense is going to be amazing.
All right.
Now you go up against the Bears, who allow points to everybody.
20 points to the Falcons, who's a better offense.
20 points to the Jets, and they cover 4.5.
Okay.
20-10 Jets win. Prop looks for you in this one.
Nothing.
You
don't want to capitalize on this Jets offense and try and buy low on some receivers or running backs?
No, look, the receiving game is impossible.
Maybe a Zach Wilson alt 300-yard game or something.
Stop. We're not going there. We're not betting on any Jets props. The receiving game is questionable. The running game, James Robinson and Michael Carter are both splitting carries. I think they're going to have success running the ball. I don't know who it's going to be. Don't fool around with the props here.
Questionable receiving game. 2 average running backs.
The receiving game's going to be fine with Corey Davis in there. The receiving game is fine.
All right.
The problem is they got rid of Elijah Moore, so Garrett Wilson can't do everything. You need another receiver. So Corey Davis and Garrett Wilson, I think that's fine.
Okay.
Dude, you're not on this. Just wait. We'll see what happens. All right. Moving on to our next game, the first of the 4:00 Eastern slate here. We have the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks are 3.5-point home favorites coming off the bye. The over-under is 47.5. Raiders, maybe they saved their season. They're probably not going anywhere this year, but at least they hung around, showed some life with a win over the Broncos last week. Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller both out for this game. No real injuries on the Seattle side. I need some help on this one. I'm pretty sure you bet the Seahawks here, but I'm not 100% sure. I want to bet the Seahawks really badly, but something is holding me back. The Raiders defense, number 32 in the league against the pass, number 22 against the run. The Seahawks should be able to do whatever they want on offense, throw it to Metcalf and Lockett, run it with Kenneth Walker. I think the Seahawks defense can mostly hold the Raiders in check. It's really just, can you cover Devontae Adams and not let him have 200 yards? But for some reason, I don't know if it's because it's 3.5 and not 3, but something's holding me back here. Help me.
Yeah, you just made my case for the Seahawks. I took the Seahawks at 3 on the look ahead, but
but it's not 3 now.
I would
advocate?
still lay the 3.5. The Raiders have 3 wins this season, 2 of which came against the Denver Broncos. So like I said,
that's
NFL
fair.
rules prohibit them from scoring 20 points. The 3rd win against the Houston Texans, who we just talked about, the worst team in the NFL.
I still can't believe the Texans didn't cover that game.
Yeah, this team loses 3 straight games to New Orleans, Jacksonville, and the Colts. And then they beat the Broncos, and we just kind of throw that out. I mean, this spread in Seattle, we're talking about, again, on a neutral field. I mean, Seattle has a decent bump for home field. We're talking about what, maybe
off the bye,
a 1.5-point spread here. Yeah, Seattle is the extra rest coming off a bye, coming off the loss to Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
and you just said it, like, this Raiders defense. I right here, they're bottom 3.
Not good against overall. Anything.
Yeah, not good against anything. You're going to get a great game for Kenneth Walker here. And we've seen, like, the Seahawks, they've gotten it done with their offense. They've gotten it done with their defense. And right now, like, it's maybe we haven't wrapped our minds around. They're just in a different class than the Raiders. And you look at the spot, like I mentioned, Seattle has the extra rest. Vegas played 2 straight road games on the East Coast, then came home, then went on the road in the elevation in Denver, and now has to go to Seattle, which obviously is the easiest environment to play in. So, yeah, I love Seattle here. I think this is a somehow a buy low spot here on them after the Raiders beat the Denver Broncos.
All right. You made a compelling enough case that I bet the Seahawks while you were talking. I am in on Seattle here. I'm going to take some -3.5. Going to take a little money line as well.
Love it.
All right. Seahawks offense gets it done any way they want. Probably wouldn't touch any props on them just because, like we said,
I'm going to go to Kenneth Walker.
Why?
If he's What do you mean? Why? The guy's an absolute workhorse. He had one down game against Tampa
Yeah,
Bay.
but what if they just come out and throw the ball all over the place? What if it's a
The
Metcalf and
Seahawks are
Lockett
no.
game?
The Seahawks are a run first offense. They're going to run the ball. Walker's been getting 15 to 20 plus carries in most of the games he's played. They had the one down game against Tampa Bay. I don't think you let it scare you.
What's the last yardage total you would play?
85.5.
That high?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd go past the 70s.
Dude, let me pull up his game log. I mean, the guy's been an absolute workhorse.
He has been. While you're pulling up the game log, let me just mention Devontae Adams, definitely going to be playing his over receiving yards. He has 3 straight games of 7 catches, 125 yards, and at least a touchdown in every single one. He is the entire offense. The Seahawks do not have an elite quarterback that can cover him. The only way that the Raiders are competitive in this game is if Devontae Adams gets another 15 targets. So definitely taking his over. Go ahead on Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, so we had the down game against Tampa Bay, 10 carries for 17 yards. Tampa Bay's a great run defense. 26 for 109, 18 for 51, not that great. 23 for 167, 21 for 97. So the dude...
Who was the 18 for 51 against?
The Giants, so not great, but...
Did they win that game?
Did they beat the Giants? Yeah, I think
they did
beat the Giants, yeah.
Okay, that worries me a little bit.
But I see that I want the volume. Give me the 18 carries and Chargers 23 for 167, Arizona 21 for 90. So like the Raiders are, what did you say they are? 23rd,
22nd against the run.
Yeah. So like if the volume's there, that's all I want with these running backs is volume.
Okay. See where it opens at.
Yeah, we'll see where it opens.
Don't auto bet it. We gotta analyze these props.
Doesn't have to be an auto play, but I just like running backs getting 20 carries,
Not many of them left in the league these days.
That's what I mean. Yeah, so you got to capitalize on it.
Rare breed. Any other prop thoughts for you?
No.
All right, let's keep it moving here. The LA Chargers taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Would you stop moving your mic like that?
Sorry. It keeps like twisting.
7 obnoxious noises. The Cardinals, 4-point underdogs coming off a shellacking in Mexico on Monday Night Football. The over-under is 47.5. Mike Williams and Gerald Everett both questionable here. Mike Williams probably not going to play after returning from an ankle injury and then re-injuring it on the first drive of the game.
Here's to Keenan Allen, though.
I know he made it through a whole game.
What did he play? What did he play? Like 30 snaps and made it through the game. Good for you, Keenan.
Yeah, we'll get a report tomorrow that he's out for 3 more weeks or something. On the Cardinals side, bunch of injury notes here for them. Hollywood Brown, questionable. He was activated off IR, but not sure if he's going to play. Rondale Moore likely out. He was declared out pretty quickly on Monday Night Football after tweaking his hamstring, I think. And then at quarterback, Colt McCoy's obviously played the last 2 games. There was a report that came out last week that Kyler may not return until after the Cardinals week 13 bye, which is next week. So there's a chance this is another Colt McCoy game, but we're not sure yet. Do you have a play here on the side or total?
Yeah, so I'm kind of kicking myself because I was going to bet the Chargers at -3 before Sunday Night Football, and I was like, let me just hold off. And then next day it was at 3.5.
Didn't you tell me? I'm pretty sure you were the one that told that to me, and I bet
was
them.
Like, yeah, so I'm kind of kicking myself, but I feel like the 1 point it moved 1 point -4. Like I still feel like obviously the Chargers have the injuries, but the Cardinals, like you said, they have a pretty decent sized laundry list of injuries. And Colt McCoy, he got it done for us last week against the Rams, but there's a reason this dude's been in the league for 12 years and he's a backup. He's the Chargers, like
he's a good backup, but they just he's a good run backup, game. They don't have enough to help him.
Yeah, exactly. So there's just not enough there. And I feel like you're just kind of waiting as much as I dislike this Chargers team, you're just kind of waiting for one of those games with like somewhat of an offensive explosion from them now with the injuries and stuff. That's the thing. Like, I think that's kind of what held me back. With these injuries, all these skill guys, and I wanted to see if guys could make it through the game healthy. And it turns out they can because Mike Williams went down. Yeah. But so like I'm hesitantly leaning the Chargers. I might get there. I'll probably feel better about them next week once Keenan Allen will probably be back to full strength next week if he can make it through this game. So yeah, just a lean to the Chargers here for me.
I think this one's a pass for me. I don't think I could lay 4 with the Chargers.
I thought I saw you bet the Chargers.
At 3. I bet them at 3. I would not bet them at 3.
So I convinced you to bet the Chargers at 3, but
that's what I'm saying. I think you were the one that led me to that, and then you didn't end up betting it. So I mean, the Chargers this season, they beat the Raiders by 5 points in week 1. The only other game the entire season where they've won by this many points was against the Houston Texans. And the Texans were competitive late in the fourth quarter in that game. Like, beat the Broncos by 3, the Browns by 2, got blown out by the Seahawks, beat the Falcons by 3. I know a lot of these games, they're dealing with injuries, but this is not a team that I'm interested in laying points on the road with, even against a mediocre Cardinals team. I like the over here. 47.5 seems a little bit low to me. I think this is maybe a good way to buy low in the Chargers offense without needing them to win by margin. These two teams are second and fourth in pace of play. The Cardinals have been easy over team. The last 5 games, 48, 44, 52, 60, and 76 points in their last 5 games. The Chargers offense, they've been playing lower scoring games, but I think that's a lot because of the injuries. So Keenan Allen comes back. Gerald Everett should be back this week in a supreme matchup for tight ends. They just played a 30-27 game against the Chiefs. I thought this total was going to be closer to 49.5 personally.
I think I'd rather take the Chargers team total over 26.5. Just don't really trust.
Yeah, if you can get it under 27, I like that.
Yeah, it's 26.5 on DraftKings minus 105 odds. So
That's a good call. I like that.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen team totals open yet on FanDuel, so I haven't even looked at them. But I like that play a lot. It's a good call. Meet in the middle.
Yeah. Well, DraftKings let me bet $12. So.
That's why I said I didn't even look at them because I didn't see it on FanDuel. I don't even bother on DraftKings. Prop looks for you in this one.
If they keep giving us DeAndre Hopkins at 6.5, which I don't think they will, I'll go back to it. But I think we're going to get a 7.
Only with Colt McCoy, or would you play it with Kyler too?
Oh no, I'd play with both of them.
All right,
they're just getting targets with both of them.
Kyler concerned me. The last game he started, he didn't throw to Hopkins for some reason.
Yeah. Well, now you remove Rondell Moore if he's out, so that's
maybe you add Hollywood.
That's true. Yeah.
Finally get a wide receiver 1 on this offense. Could you imagine what they're going to look like?
No.
I like the over even more now. You unlock this offense. You bring Hollywood in.
Yeah.
Nuke goes back to his position as wide receiver 2. I'm in on that.
All right.
I'm going to be looking at Gerald Everett over receiving yards. Obviously, if he plays,
he's hurt.
He's going to play. He was a game time decision last week. I think he's going to be back this week.
All right.
A tight end against the Cardinals. Need I say more?
Okay.
It's that simple. All right, let's keep it moving. LA Rams against Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are a whopping 14.5 point home favorite. The over-under is 44. Bad news here for the Rams. Cooper Kupp is out. Darrell Henderson is waived. Matthew Stafford is in concussion protocol still. We're not sure if it's going to be John Wolford or Bryce Perkins. The Chiefs offense is pretty banged up as well, but obviously Patrick Mahomes can get it done with anyone. Juju, CEH, Kadarius Toney, and Mecole Hardman all questionable to out. Yeah, I'm sure you have a lot to say on this one. What do you got?
Oh my God, this Rams. I think there's a chance they shut Stafford down. I wouldn't have to play for it at this point.
I feel like from the organization perspective, they have to, but like Stafford is not the kind of guy. Like I feel like he's going to fight to play. I mean, he's that.
Well, yeah, I guess Stafford's kind of used to playing for nothing after being in Detroit.
Yeah, this is his whole career. He's used to this.
Yeah, I got nothing to say on this game. Nothing here.
Yeah, I was going to be looking at the Chiefs if it opened under 2 touchdowns, but 14.5 is no. The Chiefs should smash them. The market expects them to smash the Rams. Nothing to do here.
And did you already say Darrell Henderson got released?
Yep. Waived today. So who's their starting? Is they back to Cam Akers?
Cam Akers, yeah.
I feel like I forgot that he was even on the team.
Yeah. So the Cam Akers show. And I guess
I actually did see him. He had one big carry last week. He got like 15 yards. I was like, I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
Prop looks for you in this one?
Nothing.
Can I interest you? I know you're not going to like it. It's already going to be a no, but I'm going to do it anyway. Isaiah Pacheco rush yards. I mentioned this last week.
Well, see, if Clyde Edwards-Helaire's out, then
that's where I'm going. I mentioned this last week in the low 50s. I didn't play it, and he had an incredible game. 16 for 82.
Yeah, but sorry, go ahead. Sorry. No, go ahead.
16 for 82 and 15 for 107 the last 2 weeks. One of those games Clyde Edwards-Helaire played last week. He obviously went out early, but if he's going to be getting 15 carries, maybe like he looks good on the field too. Would you have interest in there if he's in like the high 50s, low 60s?
Yeah, I would. In a game they should be leading by a fair margin, but it's still just a pass first offense. They were able to commit to the run last week against a weak Chargers run defense, but The Rams defense is a little bit stronger on the ground. So I feel like if you get a few runs where he gets stuffed, then it's just,
I feel like we're about at the point where the Rams
yeah,
defense is just going through the
yeah,
motions, and you can do whatever you want on them.
yeah. I'll see where the line's at. I could be convinced to take it depending on where the line's at,
Yeah.
and that Clyde Edwards-Helaire's out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not a prop look for this game, but just more of a question mark on what the heck happened to Ben Skowronek. This is a guy that started off the season.
Wasn't on the field.
He had 4-2, 4-2, 6-5 catches. Those were his catches in the first 7 games of the year. Now Cooper Kupp goes out and he catches one pass. Like, what the heck was that? I know they completed 16 passes, but he didn't even play.
I want to see how many snaps he played last week, because I swear every time they turned the game on, I was watching their offense. I'm looking for him.
Yeah, because we had his over 3.5 receptions at plus money. I thought was such a good play.
He played 83% of snaps. He ran 24 routes, which was 75% of the routes run. So,
but less, I don't know.
Like you look at some of these other games, like you said, his targets, he was running 60% of routes, 45% of routes, and he's getting targets. But for some reason, Cooper Kupp's out and he didn't get any. Yeah, it's just strange.
That was unfortunate. Don't play Ben Skowronek receptions this week.
No. Especially with Bryce Perkins. Yeah, like Bryce Perkins. What do we? It's going to be ugly.
I don't know. Good luck. All right, let's go to the New Orleans Saints against the San Francisco 49ers. This is our last game in the Sunday 4 o'clock slate. Niners are up to 9.5-point home favorites. Another, I think it's 3 games in a row now where the Niners were 7 to 10-point favorites. Over under here is 43.5. The usual suspects on the Saints injury report: Marcus Davenport, Marshawn Lattimore, Cam Jordan, Pete Werner, to name a few, all going to be questionable here. This was easy for me at 8.5. It was Niners and any teasers you can get them in. Now in the 9.5 to 10 range. Probably a pass for me. I know we kind of like fading Kyle Shanahan as a big favorite, but I just don't know if I can get there with the Saints team. They're kind of a mess. This Niners D-line is absolutely lethal. I have a strong feeling this is the last game that we see Andy Dalton play this year. Would you ever think about Saints here? Or are you laying it with the Niners?
I don't know that this, like, they seem just pretty committed to Dalton for whatever reason. I don't know that, like,
they played well last week. He was actually really good.
Yeah, but that was against the
Rams last week.
I don't know.
I'm just saying, it's not like they're gonna pull him last week in the middle of the game when he's throwing for 270 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. I wish I didn't get the 49ers any teasers before it moved, but that'd probably be my own look here. I think if the team total for the Saints got to 17.5, I would look the under, just with the way this 49ers defense is playing, and the Saints offense, outside of when they have very favorable matchups, I think has been pretty bad. So yeah, those would be my only looks in this game.
10.5. Would you bet the Saints? 10?
I don't know. It's tough because at 10.5, I want the possibility of like feeling confident that a team can go down and score with a backdoor. But with the way this 49ers defense is playing, I know, like, they let the Chargers hang around last week with, when they were pretty banged up, but second half they really button down the hatches there. So yeah, I thought I would be leaning the Saints, but I think it's just a pass for me no matter where it gets.
Okay, I think I'm with you. Props for me in this one. Like I said, I think this might be the week that Andy Dalton really gets benched. I was going to look at his under pass yards. I may even points bet his under. I just think this Niners D-line is going to be a big problem here. I think this is the game where Jameis Winston comes in and plays some snaps here, and Dalton has a rough day.
All right.
Probably no props on the Niners offense. They're pretty spread out in how they're kind of attacking things here.
Yeah, you can't figure them out.
All right, Sunday Night Football. Green Bay Packers against Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles are 7-point home favorites. The over-under is 46.5. Quay Walker and Devondre Campbell questionable in this Packers defense. Dallas Goedert out for the Eagles. Jordan Davis questionable. Like we kind of said off the top, I was pretty disappointed in the Eagles last week. I really thought, coming off an embarrassing primetime loss facing Jeff Saturday, I thought they were going to take care of business, run the ball, really kind of beat Indy down, and they did not. So Packers coming to Philly here. Aaron Rodgers off a long week of rest. Do you think the Packers have some life here and can keep it close, or do the Eagles kind of figure things out?
Yeah, I took the 7 with the Packers.
Wow,
I think this is too many points for an Eagles team to lay. That kind of like I said, I think teams are kind of starting to figure them out and they're not really making adjustments. They failed to cover in 3 straight games. On the other side, the Packers have covered in 3 straight games as underdogs and actually won 2 of them outright. And like the recipe kind of seems simple for the Packers. If they can run the ball, they have a chance to win and even more so cover a touchdown spread. 3 of their 4 wins, Aaron Jones rushed for 100 yards against Buffalo, where they covered a bigger spread. He rushed for over 100 yards. And then we've seen this Eagles team very vulnerable on the ground, as we know. And the schedule thing is obviously a tired narrative, like we've been saying, but not a lot of great quarterbacks on the Eagles schedule. And I know this Aaron Rodgers version that we've seen this season isn't what we've seen in past years, but you give him the run game and you can limit him to 25 or less passes. We've kind of seen he can be efficient and complete passes when he needs to. And say what you want about Rodgers. I know he had the blow up game in Detroit with the 3 interceptions, but generally he doesn't turn the ball over. And this is an Eagles defense who has just been absolutely thriving on turnovers the entire season. They're number 1 in turnover margin by a pretty wide margin. And on the other side, like I said, this Eagles offense the last few weeks just hasn't looked great. And the teams are making adjustments. The Eagles aren't running the ball. And you've had this Packers team that now has had the extra time to prep. So I just really like this spot, and I like the matchup on the field. So I was waiting for the 7. It popped up today, and I grabbed it.
Okay, I think you make a pretty strong case for the Packers. I think, I don't think I'm going to play on this one. I've been kind of going back and forth. I definitely don't think I want to lay this many points with the Eagles, especially now that it's 7. I don't know if I love the Packers here. I don't know. This game's tough. I feel like the Packers.
It's a lot of points, man. 7 points.
There's a lot of points.
Like
the Packers aren't a good team. Run the ball. If they can run the ball, I think they'll have some success on offense. I did see a note from someone today. I think Adam Chernoff noted it on his podcast. When Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph were on the field, the Colts only averaged like 2.9 yards per carry. It was significantly better than when they were off the field. So maybe the Eagles' run defense starting to figure something out with those new additions. And I think if they can stop the run, they can really make the Packers' life tough here, because I don't think they're going to have success throwing the ball with Christian Watson and Allen Lazard against this Eagles secondary. But if they can get Aaron Jones going, I think they can definitely compete here. And the Eagles offense has really just left a lot to be desired the past few weeks. So not really something I'm comfortable laying points with.
Okay.
There we go back to, we can't go back to Miles Sanders, can we?
No, you can't do it. You just can't trust. I think he's had like 4 or 5 combined carries in the first half the last 2 weeks. And then, he still ends the game with a reasonable yardage total for not touching the ball in the first half. But yeah, you just can't trust them to hand the ball off.
Yeah. Do you have any props you would look at? I don't think I have anything.
No.
All right. Last game of the week, Monday Night Football. The Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are 2.5-point home favorites. The over-under is 39.5. Kwity Paye questionable on the Colts defense. Jaylen Warren, backup running back for the Steelers, questionable, but no real other injury notes here. Do you have a play on this one, side or total?
Yeah, I just teased the Steelers. Can't remember who I teased. Oh, I teased them with the Panthers. Teased the Steelers up to 8.5. The Colts don't have the passing game to take advantage of the Steelers secondary like the Bengals did last week. I think when Matt Ryan does drop back to pass, he's going to have the Steelers in his face like he's had all season. This offensive line can't pass protect. It really just boils down to, can they shut down Jonathan Taylor on the run? We see on the ground. Sorry. We've seen the Steelers be susceptible to the run in the past. So that's kind of the key for me here. If the Steelers can force Matt Ryan to throw the ball, I think they're in a great position. But either way, I'm not expecting this to be a high scoring game. I'm not expecting another Steelers game to end 37-30. So yeah. Steelers are live dogs here. Obviously seems like a decent spot to nibble on the money line, but 8.5 points here in a teaser, I love.
Yeah, totally with you. I bet them +3, like them in teasers at +2.5. Don't mind the money line at all. Big coaching mismatch here. Mike Tomlin on a extra day to prepare here against Jeff Saturday on Monday Night Football. I think that's a really good spot. And then just kind of looking at this matchup, like you said, this Colts offensive line, pretty brutal. One of the worst units in the league this year. Matt Ryan has absolutely no mobility last year. And I think unlike the matchup that they just had against the Bengals, where guys like T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd could win right on the line of scrimmage, I don't think the Colts necessarily have those guys. Like Michael Pittman's a decent receiver, but I don't think he's as good as T. Higgins and can really create that separation that quickly. So I think Matt Ryan's going to have a real tough task against this Steelers defensive line that has just been elite. And they've been decent enough against the run to where I think they can hold Jonathan Taylor in check. And Najee Harris starting to show a little bit of life on the ground. He had 90 yards in back-to-back games coming off the bye. So maybe he's finally getting a little bit healthy. George Pickens is awesome. Kenny, dude, freaking microphone. Kenny Pickett hasn't been great, but look, they put up some points last week against a respectable Bengals defense. So for me, this is 100% Steelers are pass, and I think it's a pretty good look here, even at 2.5.
Yeah.
Thank you. Prop looks for you in this one.
My guy that you were all over me for taking last week.
Oh,
Paris Campbell.
no.
This guy is just a machine. He was over 3.5 last week. I laid some juice with him last week. I think I laid minus 160 last week. Cash, it was over 3.5 receptions, just a generous line. You're getting prices based on his season-long numbers that includes with Sam Ehlinger, where he wasn't getting targeted. I'm bringing up the updated game log here. So only six targets last week, but 5 receptions. Week before, 9 targets for 7 receptions. And I'm just going with Matt Ryan, so you can skip the 2 Sam Ehlinger games. 12 targets for 10 receptions, 11 targets for 7 receptions. So he's one of Matt Ryan's favorite targets. Obviously, Michael Pittman's still there, but I think Paris Campbell, if we're still getting 3.5 receptions, I would even look at 4.5 at plus money. I think it's a great play.
I think it'll probably be 4.5 this week.
It's fine. I'll take it.
Okay, you and your guy Paris riding along. I'm going to go to Pat Freiermuth. Been loving the tight ends here recently. Was all over him last week. 8 for 79 on 12 targets. He seems to have a really good connection with Kenny Pickett. Colts are bottom 5 against the tight end position. Don't ask Jack Stoll of the Eagles that, but they really are not that good against the tight end. And Freiermuth has been a really big part of this offense, attacking the middle of the field. Like I said, 12 targets last week. I think this is going to be in the mid 40s for receiving yards, maybe 4.5 receptions. Definitely going to love the overs there.
All right.
And I'll touch on that more later. All right. That'll wrap up our game by game recap for week number 12. We will now finish off the show with our long shots and favorite bets of the week. What do you have for your long shot of the week?
All right, I'm going to do a Thanksgiving long shot with 2 props here. So I'm going to do an alt line for Steph Diggs receiving yards. We're going to go Steph Diggs get 100 yards. And we're going to pair that with a prop in the night game also at plus money. We're going to go with TJ Hawkinson over 4.5 receptions. So you pair those together right now on FanDuel, you're looking at plus 385 odds.
I like it. I had one earlier that was going to be similar with Diggs and Amon-Ra, but I ended up pivoting. So this works out well.
All right.
See if we can start a Thursday off with some good wins there. All right, I'm going to go with my long shot of the week to that Monday Night Football game, something that I just touched on. Pat Freiermuth. Let's go 50 receiving yards and a Steelers money line outright victory. Like I said, Freiermuth has gone 8 for 79 on 12 targets last week, over 50 yards in 4 of his last 5 games. His only miss was against the number 1 ranked Saints defense against the tight end position. So a little bit understandable. I think the Steelers defensive line is going to give Matt Ryan all kinds of fits. Steelers win this game outright. And yeah, that's my long shot of the week.
Okay.
All right. Your favorite bet of the week is what?
Yeah, I'm going with the Tampa Bay Bucks at -3. Just love the spot for them coming off the bye week here. I think they're being undervalued a little bit. I'm going to bank that they spent the time well over the bye week building on the chemistry that they were able to establish heading in. And I think this Browns defense just can't figure it out. The offense is kind of hit or miss. And I think the Bucs defense, like I said, underrated a little bit at this point based on the season long numbers. Well, they're still ranked top 10, but I just feel like they're being overlooked, as I should say. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Bucs here -3.
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever done this before. I don't know if this is allowed on this podcast, but it is now because my favorite bet of the week is also the Tampa Bay Buccaneers -3 with a bullet. This is my favorite bet of the entire week, my biggest position. I agree with everything you said. The Bucs are going to come out of the bye and roll over the lifeless, hapless Cleveland Browns. Run the ball, throw the ball, defense gets the job done, makes life miserable for Jacoby Brissett, and we're waltzing our way to a victory.
Love it.
All right. Want to do look aheads for week number 13 before we hop on out of here?
Yeah, we did just get them posted recently. So
you had a lot of spots you were liking here.
Yeah, so I won't go too crazy. I think my favorite one was the Seahawks. Again, back in the Seahawks, -3 on a look ahead line. against the Rams. Like I said, I think there's a real possibility. Maybe Stafford doesn't get shut down for the season, but real possibility they maybe hold him out a couple weeks. Even if he does play, we've kind of seen this Rams
Who's
team.
he going to throw it to? Who's he going to hand the ball off to? Like
the Rams team to begin with, even healthy, has just been terrible. You could argue this is, if the Seahawks were 3-point favorites over the Rams at full strength, I wouldn't argue with it. And now you take away Cooper Kupp and who knows who else at this point. So I think grabbing that now, if the Seahawks get a convincing win over the Raiders, this could easily be opening above the key number of 3 next week.
Yeah, I think especially you think about what's likely to happen this week. We think the Seahawks are likely to beat the Raiders and win by margin. The Rams are going to get smashed by the Chiefs. So the chance that this number goes the opposite way this time next week seems incredibly unlikely. This feels like worst case, it reopens -3. Best case, it could be 5.5 or 6 if it's Wolford and Stafford's declared out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I co-sign that. I don't really, I kind of like the Lions over the Jaguars. Not really a number that I feel like you have to jump on now. Maybe the Dolphins over the Niners, but again, probably not one where you have to hurry and bet because the Niners are big favorites this week. So it's not like there's a high likelihood that we're going to think lowly of them this time next week. So
yeah, for sure. I don't hate the Chargers. I know we just kind of talked about, we don't love laying points with the Chargers, but again, against this Raiders team, Chargers are laying a flat 3 in Vegas next week. Obviously, every game for the Chargers now is a pretty big game to stay in the playoff picture. So I kind of like that spot. And I bet Cleveland -5.5. It's obviously Deshaun Watson's first game back, but I think that could sway some people to bet the Browns, and maybe this closes over 6, maybe closer to 7. And again, I just think the Texans, as bad as I think the Browns are, I think the Texans are just a train wreck. Who knows who's going to be playing quarterback for them next week? And Nick Chubb might set the single season rushing record in one game here.
Yeah, I think from a numbers perspective, you're probably right there. That spread's going one way.
Yeah.
If you do, so I can't bet really totals on DraftKings right now, but if you do have access to DraftKings or this opens on Caesars or somewhere where you can bet it, that Chargers Raiders total, it's currently at 48. That looks pretty low to me. I think, the Chargers offense probably fully healthy by then. We know the Raiders have no defense. I feel like that's a game that we could see up to like 51.5.
Maybe.
The Raiders Seahawks this week is 47.5. The Chargers have a better offense than the Seahawks. I think that game could be.
How much I trust the Raiders offense, but yeah.
They're fine. Devontae Adams.
They're fine, yeah. Yeah, Devontae Adams, that's their entire offense.
That is the offense, and they're okay with it.
Yeah.
Anything left for you to say here for Thanksgiving?
No. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Hopefully, you make some money with a full belly. I know I will. I will not be attending a vegan Thanksgiving, contrary to prior statements, but yes.
Yep. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Have some fun with your loved ones. Watch some football. Win some money. Let's make it a great weekend. And we will be back to grace you with our presence next week, breaking down week number 13 here. Follow us on Twitter at BetRightPod. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Smash the like button on YouTube. The link to the YouTube video will be in the description of this podcast. From Jeff and Rue, we are the Bet Right Sports Betting Podcast, because every time you bet with us, you bet right.